Alright, people. Right, I'm not sure if... Just making sure that's running fine. Afwan, lo siento. Mi gente. Right, I've just... where is my stuff gone? Ow. Right, let me just share this. Get it out there. Wow. I mean, even by my own standards, I was delayed today. Alright, so let me just share this. Gotta do that. As you can see, look, I put up a little sign. You probably can't see it. You can't see it well. But it says camera is reversed. So, let me just get this out there, folks. Un momento, por favor. Right. Just checking. Wa alaykum as-salam. Folks, ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. I'll be with you all shortly. Let me see. Just one moment. Just gotta share this onto my page and we are good to go. We are good to go, folks. Look at that. There it is. Other than that, I hope I've got some interesting questions. I take it that's done. Whoa, look at that. I just hear myself speaking back to me. That. Look at that. Whoa. The freaky feeling of hearing yourself. I was printing that off, and as a practice, this was supposed to go with it. It's supposed to say genius for that. The camera is reversed, genius. Tech speak for retard. Right, so people, ahlan wa sahlan bikum, ahlan wa sahlan. Inna alhamdulillahi wa kafah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-Mustafa, wa ala ibadihi alladhina irtada, wa man bihudahum ihtada, wa bi athari ahli al-Madinah iqtafa, wa ba'd. فسلام الله على القوم وأهلا وسهلا بكم وbienvenidos a todos, people. Right. And Huan Ying Light, sir, we can't forget the Chinese and the Swagatam, people, Swagatam. Right, so what are we looking at? What are we looking at? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa, mi gente? What's going on? I've had some questions come in. I'll just put some of these aside. Alright, here they are, some interesting questions. How have you all been doing? Much love from King's Heath. Shukran, shukran. Right back at you, people. Maj, right back at you. Alright, orale. That's what I'm talking about. Orale. The drink's on point. It's got to be. That's a must. People, that's a must. Salams is not correct to put. Salams. Salams. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Mano, ¿por qué? Why is salams no good? I was reading somewhere, somebody had written this thing about what is it with salam? With salam, people writing salam. This isn't an Islamic kind of gesture. You know, it's either assalamu alaikum or it's I mean, what is wrong with the world? Seriously, what is wrong with the world? I mean, not everybody wants to kind of, if they're saying something, if they're writing something, say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Allahu Akbar. And go into straight kata mode. Not everybody wants to, you know, some people just want to be just normal. So if they say salam, what's the big deal? No, it must be wa alaykum assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. God damn, people are so uptight sometimes, and they're so weird. They just pick on the weird. I mean, I just read that somewhere, and I read some people, and it's because somebody just reminded me. So yeah, this whole thing, I tell you, they're like Allahu Akbar. Have you prayed next to some, you know, back in the days sometimes when I remember praying salah next to some, mashallah, people who prayed it as though they're still living in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Some of the Salaf Salih. So they would go like, Allahu Akbar. And you're thinking to yourself, whoa. And I remember one of these brothers would go into salah, into sujood like this, and he'd put his elbows out like this. The other two praying next to him would just be like elbowed in the face. It's like, what is wrong with people? I mean, you're not here practicing for your, I don't know, black belt third dan kata going on here. It's just salah. Calm down, people. Calm down. That's it. Calm down. So, what is going on, folks? What is going on? What are we looking at? What's been going on this week? Whilst people are tuning in, and the rest of you soldiers out there are clicking like and share. So you may be put through the trials of life for having liked and shared anything of deviance. So you may be seen. You're basically going to get crucified. But what the hell, huh? As I say, what's life if not lived on the edge? So, whilst you're all doing that and people are tuning in, all right, what's been going on this week, people? What's been going on? Anything interesting? On some serious news, some sad... Look, this is some serious, you know, like... They caught the culprit for Zainab, the young little girl that was brutally murdered in Pakistan. May Allah grant her family ease. They caught the culprit. Apparently, there seems to be some conspiracy going on. Saima Sahir, I'm too scared to share your video. Saima Ji, live on the edge. You never know. A time in life might come that you may be at such a stage that you may say, if only at that stage I shared Mufti Abu Layth's video, today life could have been something else. Although that's a bit dramatized, but still. So coming back to the seriousness, so they caught this person, and that's good. That's good that they caught this person. I hope justice is served adequately and commensurately. Although there's some debate about whether he is the person, but what did get to me is that he made the claim that he's possessed. You heard me, folks. Jinn possession. why give you a shout out? Are you here for Facebook fame? Hi. Asad Ace G Ace. Wah, I've got an ace up my sleeves. Ace. Asad for you. Genius. Right. Why are you here? Are you here for Facebook fame? No, I'm sitting here for you, Asad. Then they're gonna say, why does Mufti swear? So anyway, coming back to what I was talking about before I was rudely interrupted. So this person says he's been possessed by jinns, and this is why this miserable, I would swear, but I'm on air and I don't want people to just crop it and make a meme out of it. But this person, this scum, right, he claims that the jinn had possessed him to do these things to these little girls. Now, you see, this is why I tell people there is no such thing as jinn possessions. There are no demons lurking in your cupboards, people, and your wardrobes and waiting to possess you to do all these kind of... look at this. Abdi Wali Ali goes, wa kul bi yaminika ya hadha. Hi, ya hadha. Look at the kind of disrespect. Ya hadha, like, oh, you got, like, with the, oh, you, Abdi Wali. Well, if you've passed your test for the UK citizenship, you will be able to read that in reverse. But as I can clearly tell, you haven't. Well, on the bright side, don't despair. You can always take that test again. And if you're still struggling, then I'm sure on Alamrock Road, you can take some revision classes by some of the local, is it Chaudhry Server? But you can go take some English classes there, and that should help you with your citizenship test. Okay, best of luck. So, right now, so that's one thing interesting with the jinn possession. That's been, I think, this is why Muslims need to denounce and debunk this kind of garbage of jinn possessions and this superstitious beliefs of the kind of medieval world. We need to kind of debunk this. Okay, so, and if you haven't watched my video on that, then please do. I did a course last summer with Sheikh Akram Nadwi called Debunking Myths, and we spoke about jinn possessions and magic and this all being a myth. So check that out. Abdullah Jibril says Salamu Alaikum from Egypt. People are going to say, look, Mufti claims Jibril is giving him salam. This is going to take my deviance to a whole new level. There's going to be like, this is like another level. Right, so, yep. Okay, right, so what are we looking at? What else has been going on, people, whilst people are tuning in? Well, Donald Trump has said, this is interesting, Donald Trump said he loves Muslims. And Muslims love him. Well, and what's testament to that is the House of Sod. Right, but to be fair, I kind of have a soft spot for MBS, for Mohammed bin Salman. I kind of like him. I don't know why, there's a liking to him. I generally don't have a soft spot for the House of Sod. But MBS, I'm starting to, I like it, you know. This one, bueno. Right, so that's some interesting thing. And other than that, shall we take the questions? I think enough people have tuned in. Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share. Oh, there was people, there's a story. I got to share a story with you. In Pakistan, I was reading this today, and I fell off the bed almost laughing. That in Pakistan, there was a video clip, a news clip. So this lady, this husband slapped his wife, and his wife shot him, and the way the news reporter was reporting it, and then she asked him, "Why did you slap me?" And so he couldn't come up with an adequate he couldn't come up with a response. He said, "I don't know, I just slapped you." So she shot him again on the other leg. Whoa, that's crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. I just found it hilarious, and the way the news reporter was reporting it, it just, it had me in stitches, people. It had me in stitches. So what is going on? Out of all of the madhabs, why do Hanafis follow Abu Hanifa so harshly and persistently? You see, the irony there is that the Hanafis claim to follow Abu Hanifa, but really don't follow Imam Abu Hanifa. This is the irony. So, his madhab is, Imam Abu Hanifa was a legend. He was a don, absolute don. I have to rate Imam Abu Hanifa. He was one of the early pioneers to this whole enlightened school of reason within Islam. Unfortunately, his madhab over the next few centuries that followed him kind of debunked and rejected Imam Abu Hanifa, truly speaking. And they started to either follow in almost half of the madhab his two students, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad, who although are great people, but they're not even an inch compared to the giant of Imam Abu Hanifa. And then really all they ended up doing was just following, nowadays they just follow people like Ibn Abidin, who was from like the 18th, 19th century Damascus, Middle East, known as Ash-Shami, Ibn Abidin, and his famous book Raddul Muhtar. That's just who they blindly follow today, unfortunately. And if he says we follow Abu Hanifa on this, they follow him. If he says no, we don't follow Abu Hanifa on this, they follow him. It's a shame. And they've become ironically kind of I think over the centuries, because they took such a kind of bashing from the Shafi'is for not following Hadith, ironically they've become weirdly kind of very Salafi in their own way, like Hadith, Hadith, Hadith. Although it's the only madhab which kind of lacks Hadith, but they've become very kind of like dogmatists. Nothing like Imam Abu Hanifa, legend of a person. The irony of the madhab between, somebody could do a PhD thesis on the difference between the Imam and his madhab became the antithesis of the Imam over the ages. The irony in that. If Imam Abu Hanifa was today here, he'd definitely be in line with this way of thinking, and they would definitely be writing refutations against him, calling him a deviant. Unfortunately, not all, but many. So, just to start off on a controversial note, that is. Nothing quite sells it like controversy. There's just a pizzazz to controversy, isn't there? Did he just say Imam Shafi'i doesn't follow Hadith? No, Imam Shafi'i definitely did follow Hadith. I said like the Shafi'iyya, they... Anyway, what are we looking at? What are we looking at? Not like me to be controversial. Hell no. Controversy. ما هذا ما هو الكونتروفرسي أنا لا أدري ما هو الكونتروفرسي. So what's going on, people? What's going on? Does he know to laugh is haram? Abu Eksatim M. Abdullahi. You could add a few more silent letters there. Why not just add like a silent X and then a silent qaf at the end? Just write your name with like all these silent letters. X at him. So, does he know to laugh? To with spelled double O, T-double-O, to laugh is haram. I no know this one. This one, to laugh. Did you know that hadith is da'if? Did you know that? It's a da'if hadith, people. That laughter hardens the heart, or that laughter is haram. These teachings are a deviation. Right, so, shout out to Oldham, Clarksfield. Why not? Is Ruqya fake then? Ruqya has no reality to it like the way people think it does. It can have impacts like placebo effects, and it can serve a ritual kind of impact on people. But the way people do it today, as in black magic has been done on me, or I've been possessed by a jinn, or the interest rate on my mortgage has gone up, or my husband's cheating on me, or why does my pre-workout not work anymore? Why can't I get that last rep in? There's like, so, right. So all of these, why does my internet keep buffering? So these kind of things that people do ruqya for, right? These kind of things have no reality to them, okay? So ruqya in essence is a ritual, that's what it is. And it can have some effect, but the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, Tadawo, that's in Sahih al-Bukhari if you want it, Tadawo, learn and seek medicine. Right. So, why can't I stop eating? I have no idea why you can't stop eating. Well, you've got to first of all let go of the food, okay? First tip, let go of the food. It's interesting, because I, as a person, have never really had an obsession for food. And I can't seem to understand it. Like, I understand the fact that food tastes nice. I get that. And if given a choice, obviously, I would like to eat nicer tasting food. That's obvious. I'm just like everybody else. But I've never had a kind of craze or an obsession for food. So if somebody said, let's go to a particular place for food, that to me is just arbitrary. Or if somebody said, oh, there's food here today, do you want it? Like as in, let's go to a place. I've never, and I've always, so I find it strange sometimes because I see most people have this, obviously, this kind of craze for food. And I understand it's evolutionary, but I just can't relate to it. Like I relate to the hunger and the taste, but I can't. So definitely, I am abnormal. Of course I'm abnormal. Being normal is overrated. Well, I suppose I can relate to it by analogizing on some other drives. What questions have we got, people? What questions? What are we looking at? Okay, there's a question. I've had a question on, bro, you drink it left hand. You are a toe to hand wrong. You are a toe to hand. Khurshid Ahmed says, bro, you drink left hand. Is it right? You are toe to hand. Wrong, as in R-O-N-G. Here comes another one, right? So, This one's dedicated to you. And to you as well, Khurshid, if you'd... I can refer you to somebody to help pass that citizenship test. So, you know, best of luck with that. Right. So, love you, Sheikh, for the sake of Osaid, gee. Who is that? Right, roll right back at you. Nothing but love for all of you people. Shukran. Much love. Stay blessed, people. Stay laughing. Maybe he's Chinese. Sid, are you supposing the Chinese do not know grammar? What was hilarious was I was watching once again. I watched that clip on social media of this lady who underwent some kind of she had some medical condition or some surgery, but she woke up with a Chinese accent, like a white lady, English or American. So she woke up with a Chinese, and she was like, I'm not from China, but I can't. You know, listening to it, you just cannot stop laughing. It's so hilarious. But yeah, so let's get back to some of these questions. And that's not to obviously take any digs at the Chinese. Obviously, Chinese, Zhonghua are awesome people, unquestionably. Layla ji आना है चलो आ जाओ जल्दी से फिर दरवाजा well go on then जल्दी से. So people, this is my princess Layla. ठीक है. Well, she's lost her tooth, one of her teeth, and the tooth fairy had to put some money apparently. I don't know who the tooth fairy is. Right, so off you go. जाइए दरवाजा बंद कर ऐसे नहीं करते. Gonna embarrass me, these kids are. अच्छा दरवाजा बंद कर. Right, so we're looking at a question. Oh, I was saying about the Chinese thing. You know, it's interesting. I was listening to an interview on what they call the Han Kitab culture of China. And it was the kind of Muslim, the kind of Muslim speak that was created within China from the 16th, 17th, 18th and 19th century. It was really interesting. There was a whole, somebody had done his PhD on it. I think Stephen Christian or something his name was. But he was going through how the Chinese people, what they did during those centuries is these people, they kind of take Islam, but they translate it as opposed to just translating word for word. They find things which resonate in their culture to translate it to. So it takes on a very kind of Chinese feel to it. Really interesting. And they call this the Han Kitab because of the Han being the Hanyu, the Chinese kind of main ethnicity, main ethnic Chinese people. And Kitab from the Arabic word book, meaning this kind of Chinese Muslim speak that was generated. So it's really interesting. Why are your people selling Africans in Libya? Ivivie Shandu. Ya kya Iviwe Shandu. Behave. Why are my people selling? See, it's people like that. Why are my people? I don't know. Where did you think you just tuned into? Do you think like you were trying to go on Facebook but accidentally tuned into some government kind of site, some secret government site, and you ended up there, and I'm some kind of, I don't know, some top minister giving a secret conference to all these, and you managed to accidentally tune into it via Facebook and your Wi-Fi? Is that what you thought has happened here, IVU? Well, you naughty, for trying to hack into governmental sites. Naughty. Right, so let's take a look at some of these questions. So I had a question on Hurmatul Musāharah. Hurmatul Musāharah, people, right? This is one of those absurd issues. Okay, Hurmatul Musāharah means, okay, let me give you the greater context and then I can explain the absurdity separately. Now, the greater context is if you marry somebody and consummate that marriage, and so meaning you are in a sexual relationship with somebody, a legitimate sexual relationship with somebody, can you then also marry a direct, either the parent of that person or in the future their offspring? So for example, if you married a woman, could you divorce her and later on marry her mother if you were into that? I heard it to be true, believe it or not. I heard some cases where people kind of run off with the mother-in-law. Can you? Each to their own, I guess. Each to their own. Love is blind, I guess. In that case, definitely very, very blind, and it's like congenital. It's like blind since birth. Right, so in that case, not only is love blind, but the kind of lead dog it's got is also blind. Right, so anyway, so could you marry let's say the mother-in-law or the daughter-in-law? Not daughter-in-law, so is it daughter-in-law? Yeah, how do we call it? Like your own step daughter. So she's not your daughter, but she's this woman's daughter. So could you marry? So this is the issue called Hurmatul Musāharah. And generally, the ulama would say, okay, there's some debate, and at this level, the conversation is decent. The discussion is decent. So many ulama would strongly frown upon this kind of stuff, and verses in the Quran clear saying, look, you can't marry you can't marry your wife's daughters in the future, or you can't marry your mother-in-laws, and these kind of verses in the Quran are clear. Okay, now that is wrong. So that at this level, this conversation is fine. It's digestible. It's reasonable. It's rational. It makes sense. It makes sense. Abdullah Hudifa Abdul Kadir says, what about Bitcoin? You are sick, Sheikh. How did you put those two together like, how was your mind kind of thinking? Like, what about Bitcoin? Boy, you're sick. You disgusting. I was wondering in wudu, how many sunan are there? You naughty, you. So is this halal if, if we buy a chicken that has been like, yeah. How does your mind work? So let's get back to this question. Now, focusing on this, at this level, Hurmatul Musāharah. Musāharah means this kind of in-law relationship. In-law, if we can call it that. It's, oh, sorry, sick meant good. Oh, sorry, I take that back. Oh, I totally see now. Oh, it makes total sense now. It's like, duh. That's like, is Bitcoin, oh, you're sick. I mean, it makes total sense. Total. I'm messing with you. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. Right, so right now, coming back to this, so Hurmatul Musāharah makes sense. Then what's happened is some of the ulama, the question I was asked about the Hanafi ulama. Now, what they've done is they've then taken this discussion a step further. They've said, okay, what if it wasn't a marriage? What if it was just sexual intercourse, let's say? So it was just sex, it wasn't marriage. So they said, look, the ruling still stands. Fine, 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 okay. Then they've taken it a step further. They've gone, yaar, maza nahi aaya yaar. They've gone, yaar, maza nahi aaya yaar. Isme, let's take it a step further. So they've said, okay, what if it wasn't full-on sexual intercourse, but it was kind of a strong sexual encounter kind of thing? So the other ulama here have said, no, wait a minute. There's what the Quran says, and we're going to stick with that. We're not going to start inventing these rulings. But the Hanafi madhab said, no, it's still haram. Not the sexual encounter, but then that person's other relatives become haram. Then they've said, yaar, maza nahi aaya. It's not quite doing it for me, this. Let's take it a step further. So they've said, okay, what if it was just a touch? Touch. You know, touch. It's like, just like it just by accident, you know, what if it's like touch, you know? So they've said, well, even if you touched, then that person's mother and daughter become indefinitely, infinitely haram on you. Then they've said, but okay, they've said, you know, it's not, let's take it one step further. So they've said, what if you touch but by accident? You know those accidental touches? The hands do wonder. What if you accidentally touch? Accident, you know, accident, you know, it's like, so they've said still they become haram. Accidental touch, still. It's like, whoa. So then they've said, so let us give you an example of where they've applied this. They've applied this, let's say a man, middle-aged, older, and he has a son who's fully grown and is married, living with him, let's say, or wherever they are. And in this situation, the daughter-in-law, right, okay, people, the daughter-in-law comes to, let's say she's handing, I don't know, let's say she's handing him a cup of tea. So he happens to touch her. Let's say he touches her. And then he feels in his mind, oh, what nice soft hands you have. So let's just say in his mind, not intentionally, but it happened. He just felt it by accident. Let's just say he felt it and he thought, he just had an appreciation of a thought of saying, well, like a kind of sexual touch by accident. It could be anything. It could be a hand. He just touched her hand, but he just had like he felt it sexually, even if it was unintentional. So they say, now based on this, she has become haram for his son. This is one of the most absurd masail, issues of fiqh. You heard me correct, people. She has become haram for his son because, what? You think, well, what? You think, what? You think, Because he's made contact with her kind of in a sexual way, even though it's unintentional, so his son cannot marry her now. And you think, but he's already married to her. And they say, well, tough. It's over. And I'm not actually making this stuff up, believe it or not. There's many issues like this where, you know, like really weird kind of sick issues like this, where the ruling the ulama will just give in the Hanafi fiqh is like that they are now divorced against their will because of this. I remember when I was doing my Mufti training, there was an incident a bit similar to this, a bit different, but I mean, and they gave the ruling that these people have to separate, and it's tough. So and I remember saying to them, are you guys crazy? Why don't you just pass the ruling according to all the other rulings, like the Maliki madhab, the Shafi'i madhab, all these other madhabs say that that's nonsense. And they say no. And I said, yeah, but you're destroying people's lives here. And they've said, well, it is what it is. So this is why the deen has to always make sense. It's important. Es muy importante, mi gente, because otherwise you then get crazy things like this. Right, so somebody asked a question, is it permissible in Islam to pet a pig? Of course it is. You can pet a pig, as in, I'm not sure. If the person meant to kind of like touch, of course. I'm not sure if they meant keep it as a pet. I'm not sure if I don't think people generally keep pigs as pets. I don't think, unless you own a farm, I don't think they have pigs I mean, you wouldn't have generally like, here, I got a pet pig. Maybe people do. I don't know what everybody's up to in this crazy world. But nevertheless, touching a pig is fine. A pig is not considered impure in Islam. According to the school of Medina, it's haram to eat, but it's not haram to touch, or it's, for example, its saliva, or its sweat, or its tears. Things like this are not considered impure in any way, according to the school of Medina. Okay? I want a pet monkey. Sure, why not? I think some monkeys have that kind of cute thing to them. Right, so, what are we... Where have we got to, people? Where have we got to? Gemstones. I've been asked a question on gemstones. What I'll do is I'll take some from here as well. Is it permissible to eat dog meat? This is an interesting question because some people try to bash the school of Medina with this, the Maliki madhab. Right now, it's not really fair because what they don't understand is, I'm just trying to bring up those questions in detail. I've got it here, but I wanted to see if there was a greater context to that question. The thing is, in the school of Medina, right, predatory animals are not haram, they are only makruh, discouraged. So that includes all predatory kind of animals. So whether it's lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, jackals, hyenas, all this kind of stuff, right? So people don't normally eat them. I accept that. But the question here was that if they did, if somebody did decide to eat a lion, let's say, right? I know the lion won't take nicely to that. Nevertheless, right, if you did decide to, I'm just trying to get to this damn question at the same time. If you did decide to eat a lion, it's not considered haram in the school of Medina. So by that understanding, neither are dogs. So, I mean, people here try to say, oh my God, the Maliki madhab, Maliki say you can eat dogs. Maliki don't say you can eat dogs. They don't say you to go eat dogs. But they said that these things are not declared haram. There's a little difference, okay? Just because something hasn't been declared haram doesn't mean you need to go eat it. Don't just eat everything, for God's sake, that it hasn't been declared haram. You don't just go around eating soil and eating stones and kind of like eating anything that isn't declared haram. But look, if some culture did eat wild predatory beasts, they are not haram according to the school of Medina. So in the Prophet's time, many of the Arabs used to eat hyena. They used to eat hyena meat. So in a hadith in Tirmidhi, some of the Sahaba have hunted hyena and they're eating it. So they call it daba in Arabic. Now daba is, once again, it's not haram because the school of Medina does not consider any predatory meat to be haram. So I suppose the Chinese diet could find some dispensation in the school of Medina. Right, so that's, I'm just giving you the explanation that some people sometimes try to take a diss at the Maliki method by saying, oh, they've said this, that you can eat dogs because eating dogs is not haram. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to eat it, for God's sake, just because God, there's a lot of kind of biblical preaching going on down here. Where are my mock and block crew? People, where are you? Right? ¿Dónde están ustedes? Where are you, people? Where are you? So, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is permissible to buy. There's no, you see, the question here is what makes something haram in Islam? Everything by default is permissible. Imam Zia, alright, ahlan wa sahlan people, we got Imam Zia in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan. Right, an amazing sheikh from the States. Now, look, in Islam, by default, everything is permissible unless proven otherwise. Okay, estamos aquí, compadre. Right. Muy bien. Right, the thing is, so focusing on this, by default, everything is permissible unless proven otherwise, proven overwhelmingly to the contrary. All right, so that is important. You have to understand that. Now, what would make Bitcoin haram? What would make it haram? So people would say, yeah, well, Bitcoin is this kind of currency that has been created from thin air. And you'd ask, well, what does that actually mean? And they would say, well, it's not backed by any particular state. You think, well, where has Islam stipulated that a currency needs to be backed by a state? And they would say, yeah, well, it's not backed by an asset. First of all, what makes you think normal currency is backed by... It's not backed by gold anymore. The gold standard has long gone. If you're going to say some currencies were backed by the dollar, or today if they're going to be backed by certain indices and things like this, but what makes you think that's an Islamic standard? Islam has never said that currency has to be like this. In fact, Imam Malik's fatwa let me quote to you people, the Don of Medina, Imam Malik ibn Anas. Okay, he is the legend, I'm telling you, the legend, right, himself. He said, when he was asked in his fatwa, he said that if people started, when he was asked about about people trading in certain ways, he said if leather, you know, the kind of leather from the carcasses of dead animals, of cows and things like this, he said if people started trading in that, hatta takuna kal'ain, until it becomes like actual dinars and dirhams, he said that will take the rulings of wealth. And at the time he was being asked about riba and stuff like this, he said there would be a riba in it if there was riba, meaning if you were going to rip somebody off or exploit them, it would still count. So what makes you think the dinar or the dirham, which are long gone of the past, or today the pound sterling, is some kind of God-given currency? It's not. I mean, pound sterling is, I'm sure, awesome, but it's not. Islam is kind of very, it's all arbitrary to Islam. Islam has no issue where if you trade in Bitcoin, or you want to buy Bitcoin, or you want to sell it. And as far as the rules are concerned about saying things like, look, buying something you don't physically possess, well, of course you can buy things. The ulama have spoken about this ages ago. Ulama, the Maliki madhab is full of things that, like, oh, selling, they've said selling the air over your roof, as in airspace. And they said there's nothing wrong with that. Selling rights, selling privileges, these things, the ulama Islam has long accepted. They're not actual physical entities. Corporations today are not physical entities. Islam today would have accepted these things. Obviously, in the Prophet's time, in 7th century Arabia, people never traded like that. So you can't make 7th century Middle Eastern Arabia a standard for trade and economics and commerce and medicine and diet and nutrition and health. And you can't, I mean, that's then why has God created humanity? Why not just end it with 7th century Arabia? So, bro, is this a joke? What's with the beard? Stephen Hurst, who, I'm not really a troll. I'm pretending to be a non-Muslim. But really, I'm a Muslim. Bro. Right, so. Right now. Right, so the point is that, yes, Bitcoin is absolutely permissible to buy. You see, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about things like, when he spoke, I know. Right, well, I've blocked those people. You see, when the Prophet spoke about transactions, people, and things like certain buying and selling things, like rules, you have to understand that what he was doing was addressing a people of his time for situations they had in their time. Not for people today. He was not setting a standard saying, oh, this is how you will buy and sell for eternity. Right, so now for example, let me give you an example. The Prophet said things like, oh, don't let the Bedouin people, for example, they can't buy and sell with the city folks at a certain time. Like, they should have a separate kind of market and a separate this. Did this mean that nobody in the future can ever do things like that? Of course not. The Prophet was just speaking about, in his time, some people would exploit Bedouin people. So he was saying, look, listen, let them do their own thing. When the Prophet was speaking about things like, about camels and stuff like this, that is not, he wasn't kind of trying to set a global, universal, infinite standard. He was just addressing the problems of his age. The people had these kind of problems. Do you know, this is how they bought and sold. The Arabs didn't even have a concept in his day and age of saying things like they wouldn't even, for example, pick up a merchandise, put down the money and walk off. They didn't even have that. We call this in Islam bay'ut ta'ati. Okay, so they didn't even have that in early Islam, bay'ut ta'ati, and this is why the Shafi'i madhab struggled to embrace this. Can you believe that? Struggle to embrace that I'm buying something by picking it up and giving you the money. That you had to say that, I am now purchasing this merchandise from you, this phone, Samsung S8, let's say, or whatever it is. The other person had to say, I am now selling you this. And if you don't do that, there's no transaction. Can you believe that? Obviously, the other madhabs, the school of Medina, Imam Abu Hanifa, very soon, as soon as this became a culture, they embraced it. They said, of course you can buy and sell however you want. Islam never came to, it just came to prevent exploitation. It didn't come to say how the Arabs used to buy and sell is now a universal human standard. The way the Arabs used to buy and sell in the Prophet's time, nobody buys and sells like that. It'd be crazy to buy and sell like that. They used to buy and sell in crazy ways, like close their eyes and put their hand on a piece of cloth, and they would throw a stone. And you can read it in the books of Hadith. And the Prophet even told them off on something like, okay, look, these kind of things don't make sense because they lead to disputes. So this is why the mistake is, people, what some Muslims have done is they've looked at the life of the Prophet, and instead of taking from him the kind of him in his characteristics being exemplary for humanity, they've decided to take not just him, but to cut out that society and picture that society to be a template for humanity forever. Which is absurd, because all of that society, the Prophet, none of that society did he create. He was just a member of that society. Can I marry you? Teresa, naughty. That's an interesting question, isn't it? Right, so this is how scandals are set up, people. Right, so stay. Me trying to stay focused and not trying to kind of stalk some profiles now. Right, no. So the thing is, look, people carve out that society and they think this is what Islam is. So they think Islam is, oh, how did the Prophet lived in Arabia? Oh, so living in Arabia must be Islam. No. The Prophet rode a camel. So riding camels and horses must be Islam. No. The Prophet dressed, people in Arabia used to dress by having this kind of sarong, and they would wear this. So wearing a sarong and things like that and sandals would be Islam. No. The Arabians, the Arabs used to sit on the floor and eat. So sitting on the floor and eating must be Islam. No. So so what they've done is they've just taken Arab 7th century Arab, not the Prophets, but Arab culture, which was there long before the Prophet came. And they've tried to immortalize that and religionize it. And the irony is, even the Prophet didn't want you to do that. And he was trying to fight against some of this culture. And the irony is, today, many zealous kind of Muslims are arguing and fighting so hard to embrace dogmatically the culture of 7th century pagan Arabs. This is the irony in Islam today. So, right now, let's get back to well, muchas gracias, Teresa, muchas gracias. I appreciate it. Right, so now, students of knowledge, say to your... Let me take the next question. Aina wasalna, huh? ¿Dónde estamos? Where are we, people? Right, so I've been asked a question on gemstones. This thing about gemstones and giving good luck and any kind of superstitious things, these things have no value in Islam. Okay. How could you call yourself Muslim? Like this, look. I'm a Muslim. Oh, no, sorry, like this. I'm a Muslim. Oh, no, I could also do it like, I am a Muslim. Or I suppose I could call myself as, I'm a Muslim. I mean, I could call myself a Muslim in many ways, but thank you for asking. Right now, I've spoken about tattoos previously at great lengths. So I mean, if you check the previous kind of episodes, you'll find it there. Right, so yeah, so gemstones and things like this, look, these are all superstition. Stay away from these things, people. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know what people, I think people use gemstones for rings and things like this. I'm not saying the rings are haram per se, but what I'm saying is believing in superstition is forbidden, because it cripples the human cognitive faculty. Okay. Right. Wa alaykum as-salam. Right, so people just tuning in, click like, click share, people, get this out there. Right, let's take a look at some discussions. Right, okay, I've been asked some questions. I've been asked a question on Hadith. Here's some interesting serious talk, people, on Hadith. So I answered a question I think was it the week before last, on some miracles of the Prophet. Okay, I'd like to touch up on this topic because I've seen online a few discussions about this. I've seen some viral videos. I don't know how viral they are, but some, I mean, they were sent to me anyway. And I even had somebody approach me at a petrol pump. So if the brother watches this, he'll probably know who he is, right? To have a discussion on this, because he had seen also these viral videos, which I have also seen now. So these videos were alluding to me being blasphemous, okay, to the companions. Because I said in a previous discussion, I was asked about the miracles of the Prophet and this tree that kind of allegedly cried and would speak. This kind of like speaking, crying tree in the time of the Prophet. And I said there's no such thing. And these hadith are not established. Okay. I said that. I said that these things are not established. They are, and I said that the chains have problems, and I touched up on them briefly last time. But I also then said that, look, somebody may ask that, but why? Okay, if you go with the argument that they are established, let's say, if you go with the argument that they are established, why would sometimes certain companions say things like this? And I said, look, it's out of their love for the Prophet that over time, people, when recounting things, it's natural to exaggerate the virtues out of love for somebody. And I said, look, people today even do this for their own peers and sheikhs. They claim them to be doing all these miracles and things like this. So I said that, look, in the past, naturally for the Prophet, some people may have done this. But we don't need to kind of exaggerate the virtues, because the Prophet for us was already such an amazing and incredible person, and for us was the best of creation. So that's what I say on my video. So this one person he kind of is making a recording of my video, and then there were some comments on different kind of statuses as well, saying, oh my God, the Sahaba exaggerate the virtues of like they exaggerate. And this can mean, not that I'm saying, but these people are saying that, are you trying to say the Sahaba lie? And therefore, oh my God, blasphemy, blasphemy, blasphemy. Right, first of all, right, we do not live in 15th, 16th century, people. Okay, you need to chill out with all this kind of like blasphemy and heathens and pagans and all this kind of speech, right? we live in the 21st century. Welcome to 2018. Okay, just to start off with. Secondly, right, I want to demonstrate. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to explain this situation and the greater context. But before that, I'm going to demonstrate that these hadith are not established. Okay, I do not believe these incidents to be true. And I do believe that these chains are inaccurate. Right, now, I'll go through some of these for you. Right, now, I know there's a few chains, but I'll go through the strongest, some of the strongest ones, and then you can, you can gain from that an example of other things. Now, I want to highlight that, look, Sahih al-Bukhari, is an amazing book. It's an amazing effort to preserve the hadith of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. However, Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, these great Imams taught us that we differentiate between hadith and sunnah. Not every hadith is a sunnah. Imam Malik rejected several hadith despite them being sahih, having a valid chain. He rejected them outright. And this is evident in his Muwatta. But let's come to this point. You see, Imam Bukhari has approximately over 8,000 narrations in his book. If, let's say, 100 of them even have issues with them and are unreliable and eventually declared to be unacceptable, that's no big deal compared to the overall 8,000 that he has. He still did an excellent job. But what we shouldn't do is become blind following kind of dogmatists, that we refuse to look at the evidence. When you look at the great scholars of hadith like Al-Hafiz Zainuddin Al-Iraqi, when he's speaking about Bukhari, he says, look, just when what our ruling on Bukhari is that the chain of hadith, if it is connected, we will declare it sahih. But that does not mean, he says, that does not mean, he says, this does not mean أنه مقطوع بصحته, that this is certainly valid. He says, because it's very possible that these people made mistakes. Then these great scholars of hadith, like Abu Zur'a, like Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani, like Shu'bah, like Waqi', like Sufyan al-Thawri, like Imam Malik, like Abu Hatim al-Razi, like al-Hakim, like al-Bayhaqi, like all these Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Ibn Abi Dawood, all these great scholars of hadith, Nasa'i, Darqutni, they all disagreed. Yahya ibn Ma'in, Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan, Ali ibn al-Madini, all these scholars disagree on rulings of hadith. So just because Bukhari here agrees on one thing doesn't mean others do. And let me give you an example. So this chain of hadith, for example, let's take the hadith of Jabir, that the Prophet had this tree that used to cry and make sounds and scream and stuff like this. Now, there's a hadith that Bukhari transmits from a rawi, from a great muhaddith known as Abu Nu'aym, who transmits from Abdul Wahid ibn Ayman al-Habashi, from his father, Ayman al-Habashi, al-Makhzumi, from Jabir. Now, let's just take that one as an example. In this chain, Abdul Wahid ibn Ayman, Scholars have said about him, Abu Hatim al-Razi, when his son asks him about Abdul Wahid ibn Ayman, he says, yes, we write his hadith. His son asks him, do we rely on Abdul Wahid's hadith as evidence? هل يحتج بها? And he says, no. إنما يحتج بحديث السفيان وكذا وكذا. We can document them, but he doesn't consider them reliable. Okay, he's transmitting from his father, Ayman al-Habashi al-Makhzumi. Who is Ayman? Al-Dhahabi says that Ayman lam yarwi anhu illa waladu. Only his son Abdul Wahid is the only person to transmit from. He says, to me, this person is unreliable. Fihi jahala. Even if some people declared him to be okay, but to me he's problematic. There you go, people. That chain is problematic. Let's take a look at another chain. Once again in Bukhari. This chain, this hadith is to do with, from Jabir again, about there being a tree. In the same incident, the tree used to cry and make sounds and things like this. Because they turned it into a mimbar. And because they were going to turn it into a mimbar, the tree started crying and the Prophet came and put his hand on it. These things are unreliable, these stories. This Bukhari says Ismail ibn Abi Uwais transmits this from his brother, who is Abdul Hamid Abu Bakr ibn Abi Uwais, who transmits this from Sulaiman ibn Bilal, from Yahya ibn Sa'id, from Hafs ibn Ubaidullah ibn Anas, who is the grandson of Anas ibn Malik, the Sahabi. So Hafs is, who hears it from Jabir. Now, first of all, Hafs, the grandson of Anas. What does Abu Hatim say about him? Abu Hatim al-Razi. He says, لا يثبت له السماع إلا عن جده Anas. We only know of him to transmit from Anas radiallahu an, not from any other Sahabi. He says, the fact he transmits from Jabir or Aisha, we do not know this to be established. Let's not stop there. Who is Bukhari transmitting from? The first person in the chain, Ismail ibn Abi Uwais. Second person in the chain, his brother Ismail from his brother, Abu Bakr Abdul Hamid ibn Abi Uwais. Both of them are declared da'if, weak by Yahya ibn Ma'in. And then on top of that, Nasa'i, right? On top of that, Nasa'i declares Ismail ibn Abi Uwais to be weak. Abu Dawood did not used to like the narrations of Ismail ibn Abi Uwais. And I rate Ismail ibn Abi Uwais as a person. I love him, but I'm being objective here. Even Ibn Abdul Bar, in his commentary on the Tamheed, says that these are weak ruwat. Right? So even if Bukhari accepted them, many of the muhaddithin did not accept them. Many of the muhaddithin did not accept them. In fact, Yahya ibn Ma'in would say that there were 3 households that he would openly reject. Openly reject these households. Amongst them the household of Ali ibn Asim. Amongst them the household of Alu Abu Uwais. Alu Abu Uwais. All of the offspring from Abu Uwais's family, Yahya ibn Ma'in used to declare them da'if. This hadith, unacceptable. Bukhari accepted it. That's fine. Other ulama didn't. Right. Let me give you another example. Right. Now, there's a hadith from Anas ibn Malik on this same incident about the tree. So, it's in Tirmidhi. Tirmidhi says Mahmud ibn Ghaylan tells him from Umar ibn Yunus, from Ikramah ibn Ammar, from Ishaq ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Talha, from Anas radiallahu an. Right, now let's just take a look at this chain. Straight away, Ikramah ibn Ammar. Straight away, Ikramah ibn Ammar al-Yamami al-Ajli. Right. He is, Bukhari says, Sahibu Manakir. Although Tirmidhi is accepting him, Bukhari isn't accepting him. He calls him Munkar. He transmits munkar riwayat. What does Abu Dawood say about him? Muttarabul hadith. His ahadith have ittirab. Da'if. Out. Let's take a look at another example. Right? Ubay ibn Ka'b. This is a hadith from Ubay ibn Ka'b. It's transmitted in a few books, in Ibn Majah, in the Musnad of Ahmad, by Imam Shafi'i as well. Shafi'i's chain is Shafi'i and Ibrahim ibn Muhammad, from Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Aqil, from Tufail ibn Ubay ibn Ka'b, from his father Ubay ibn Ka'b. Okay? Now, this hadith, if you look at it, let's just take a look straight there. Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Aqil. Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Aqil. Right? Who is the grandson of Aqil ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anh. So Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Aqil. Yahya ibn Ma'in, da'if. Declares him da'if in hadith. Al-Dhahabi says, لا يرتقي إلى درجة الاحتجاج والصحة. He is not of a standard of reliability. And although Ahmad and Ibn Majah bring a chain from another Rawi, Ubaydullah ibn Amr al-Raqi, right, who there is some kalam in, arguably, he is a trustworthy narrator, but people like Ibn Sa'ad said he's kathirul hadith saduq wa rubbama akhta, and maybe he makes some mistakes. But even who they're bringing their chains from, Ubaydullah ibn Amr al-Raqi from Raqqa, back in the day, obviously is classic, he too transmits from Ubaydullah ibn Muhammad ibn Aqil, who we've already said, according to Yahya ibn Ma'in, is da'if. Right, so people, these are four, right there, I've given you 6 narrations, all da'if, right, unreliable. So this is important to understand, that just because somebody says that, sorry my Jan, sorry. Right, so just because somebody says this hadith is in Bukhari doesn't make it protected, doesn't make it. Yes, Bukhari is an excellent job, but al-isma lillahi wahda, only the book of Allah is entirely, in its entirety, we believe as Muslims, to be preserved. A hadith, they've had an excellent job, but they are not infallible. Okay. Now, so that's the other thing is I want to touch up on here is, look, these people insinuating, that I may have been blasphemous to the companions. Right, so guys, pay attention to this. I want you to focus on this. Focus. Right, so some people saying that, look, you, right, don't kind of just troll the thing. Anybody trolling the comment section is going to get blocked. Do I use Brylcreem? No, I don't. Right, so now people saying to me that, look, oh, you maybe by saying some of the companions, first of all, I don't believe these narrations to be authentic, full stop. But the question is, if you did believe them, what would you respond by? And I would respond by saying, well, fine, that's, maybe out of the excessive love that they exaggerated, hyperbolic speech, like used hyperbole. Now, some people saying, oh, by saying that you're being blasphemous. Let me ask you. Right, guys, any of you kind of trolling are going to get blocked. So focus, people. I'd like you to share this, get this out there. This is something very important I'm going to say now. Right. First of all, I want to mention one thing, is that several months back, online, there was this huge kind of, I don't know where it came out of, but there was this kind of spontaneous effort online to kind of malign one of the companions of the Prophet, and that was Muawiyah radiallahu anh. And people were insulting him, swearing at him outright, using swear words and things like this. I found nobody at the time on the online kind of scholarly Islamic Sunni community defending Muawiyah radiallahu anh. I was the only person that spoke out very clearly condemning those people for attacking Muawiyah radiallahu anh. But put that aside, more importantly, even more important things, and I'd like you to click like, click share, people, get this out there. Right. Let's go greater than the companions. Let's go to the Prophet of God, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and prophets. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask these Sunni so-called Ashiq lovers of the Prophet a question. Tell me, how would you feel if you came across, since you seem to be so sensitive to these things and the love of Iman is kind of pulsating in your heart, right? How would you feel if somebody was to use words today, like say, oh, the Prophet became clumsy? How would you feel? The Prophet didn't know what he was doing. He would just make silly mistakes. He became clumsy, couldn't speak coherently, or the Prophet was forgetful, started to fantasize events. How would you feel if you started to hear these things? How would you feel if somebody told you that the Prophet of God used to have sexual relations with a child? How would you feel? That they told you that he used to have sexual relations with a 9-year-old child. How would you feel? How would you feel if we told you that the Prophet of God was so incapable that he would have magic done onto him by a Jew that could debilitate him for months on end, for half a year, rendering the Prophet of God? How would you feel if somebody said the Prophet became sexually impotent? How would you feel? Does this not make your blood boil? How would you feel if somebody said that a prophet of God, Moses, was running around naked so people could see his testicles, just to find out whether he had a disease or not? How would you feel? How would you feel? How would you feel if somebody told you, or if somebody said that the Prophet of God, he sent one of his companions, Ali, to murder somebody because apparently that person was having an affair with his own, with the Prophet's servant, with the Prophet's kind of, what you call servant who the Prophet had a child with. So he sent somebody to kill him, only to realize that that was absolutely a mistake because that person didn't even have a penis. So how would you feel? How would you feel? Is this not blasphemy? It is absolute blasphemy. Absolute, utter rubbish. These things are rubbish. Garbage being regurgitated in the name of Islam. Fuel for Islamophobia. I urge you, I beg you to please denounce this rubbish as blasphemy. Why am I the only person doing this? Where are the Sunnis, the lovers of the Prophet? They endorse, support and endorse that the Prophet was having sexual relationships with a child, 9-year-old. How disgusting of a teaching are they pushing? This is utter nonsense. Right? They endorse that the Prophet Moses was running around naked so people could see his private parts. They endorse that the Prophet became ill and weak and sexually impotent and started to fantasize things. They endorse these things. They endorse that the Prophet sent Sayyidina Ali to kill the cousin of Maria. Why am I the only to start? Do you even accept Maria radiallahu anha as the wife of the Prophet? I do, because the student of Imam Malik put her as the wife of the Prophet. Right? Abul Hassan ibn Zabala in his book declares her to be the wife, not a servant, not a slave. Why do you not accept this? Why do they refuse to accept her as the wife of the Prophet? They say she was a slave, and the Prophet, she was a slave that the Prophet would have sexual intercourse with. That is not true. She was his wife. Radiyallahu anha. And why are you blindly following people? You say, oh, they will say to you, oh, the reason I accept all this kind of rubbish is because, oh, a great scholar from the 16th century said it's okay. Oh, Ibn Hajar said it's okay. Look, I love and respect Ibn Hajar, but my loyalty and love for the Messenger of God is much above the kind of tolerance level and the social acceptability of Ibn Hajar's 16th, 15th, 14th century. I don't care. I'm not responsible for what Ibn Hajar accepted as a social practice and he didn't. The truth is the Messenger of God is above that. Stop blindly following your sect. Stop blindly following your shuyukh. Have the courage. I challenge you. I urge you. I beg you to denounce this rubbish in the name of God and for the love of His Messenger. Do not teach this blasphemy. Right? This is what you are doing. You are endorsing blasphemy. And then and if you're not going to do that, because I know you are far too intimidated by your petty crowd and your silly followers, and just for their support and your kind of sectarian dogmatism to reject this. Even the love of the Prophet cannot bring you to defending his honor today. And I tell you seriously, wallahi, by Allah, Allah will hold you to account for not defending the honor of the Prophet. That you have stood by and allowed his name to be defiled. You've allowed his name to be kind of thrown in the dirt. You've allowed these fabricated stories to be circulated about him having sexual relationships with a child. You've allowed this nonsense of him becoming sexually impotent and stuff like this to be taught in the name of Islam. You will be held accountable by Allah. So I tell you that if you have the courage, rise for the love of the Prophet, denounce this garbage, this blasphemous rubbish. And if you're not going to, right, then at least don't have the hypocrisy or the double standards to call out other people when they say things like, oh, maybe somebody out of their excessive love for the Prophet exaggerated. Don't you dare call that blasphemy. That's not blasphemy. This is blasphemy. So if you're not going to denounce that rubbish that I told you, which is Tommy Robinson, all these kind of Islamophobic, fascist, racist groups love it. They love that kind of speech coming from the Maulanas because they use it. I watched an episode about Muslim sex grooming gangs and kind of pedophilia, and do you know what the Islamophobes on there were saying? They were saying, well, this is fine for the Muslims because their Prophet did this, and they believe that their Prophet did this, so it's fine. Who is going to answer for this? It's going to be us as Muslims. We are going to answer. So, look, as I was saying, and those of you who, this Aisha radiallahu anha, I've got a whole video dedicated to this. It's on YouTube. I do mention Aisha, I don't know specifically, but all the evidence demonstrates she was in her late teens when she got married. So the evidence varies whether she was, some texts may say she was 19, 17, 18, but she was in her late teens when she got married. Now, and I've got a whole video going through evidence upon evidence to demonstrate that. So do think do watch that. But yeah, so my point here is that, look, if you're going to, don't either kind of stand true to the love of the Prophet, or just don't kind of use that card. It's okay. This card has been used too much by kind of like Brylcreem scholars and these people against Salafis and against Deobandis and against, this gustach, blasphemy. And the truth is that you do nothing but support utter gustachi yourselves. Utter. Right? So that's the truth. Utter kind of blasphemy. And you don't have the courage to speak out against it. So then at least don't kind of use this card on other people. Whoa. Right, so anyway, moving on. That was a bit tense there, because it kind of winds me up when I see some of this stuff, because it's not genuine. We all know it, right? So let's get back to some of those questions. Right, what are some of these other questions I was looking at? Right, that's a good, somebody gave me some good advice there. Have some drink. Much needed, people, much needed. That's what I'm talking about. Right, so, where are we at? Is camel Botox halal? Meanwhile, people, I shared a kind of clip. Saudi Arabia had to disqualify some camels for using Botox. Gotta love the Saudis, kind of really on it when it comes to world matters. Right. Is there a hadith that the Prophet saw Allah? Those things were visions. Those things are visions. Right, so those things were visions. On Dawn Man, what's a Dawn Man? I don't know what that is. Am I a Shia? I'm not a Shia. Absolutely not a Shia. Are you Sunni? Why do you wear a necklace? How did you put those things together? Are you Sunni? Why do you wear a necklace? It's like, is it part of the Sunni dogma and creed to not wear necklaces? And no Muslim man shall from here forth wear a necklace around his neck. For God's sake, give me a break. Are you Shia? Abe, secret is secret. First of all, with the name as secret is secret. Please, this one not secret. I tell you, I know Shia. Okay. Right, so Arbab saying, call me. Well, that's an interesting one. Call me. As you can see, I'm busy. So, if a woman asks for khulla of danger, would it be valid? No, I mean, these things are to do with like talaq, and these things are, people, I mean, it's, if they want to separate, they can separate. The main thing should be, if a couple want to stay together, then the scholars they go to should do everything they can to make sure that that relationship is salvaged. So Islam teaches us to always offer assistance and be helpful on relationships. So no matter what, so if a couple come and they say, I've given talaq like this, or I've done that, or I've done this, but we want to stay together, then they must, I feel that the scholar is duty bound to help salvage that relationship. Obviously, if they don't want to be together, then that's fine. Then, you know, they can, that's fine. Somebody's asking, what are you drinking? I can't tell you that. That's all I can say. All I can say is, कौन कम बख्त बर्दाश्त करने के लिए पीता है. And if you don't know that dialogue, God, do you even exist? That's one of the most famous classic Bollywood dialogues of all time. Kaun kam bakht bardasht karne ke liye peeta hai. How to deal with OCD as a Muslim? Definitely ignore. You are duty bound to ignore any kind of obsessive compulsive thoughts. Okay, if you feel your wudu isn't done, don't worry about it, just carry on. Okay, Devdas. It is indeed. Right, why is credit haram? I don't believe credit is haram. I don't believe it is. Watch my lecture on YouTube on it's a cutout from one of these previous sessions on loans and mortgages, and I don't believe them to be haram. So it's all good. And we need to get up to date. Our fiqh is so out of sync. Should we then accuse scholars who accept it as dishonoring the Prophet? Wouldn't we be accusing a lot of people? Right, okay, good question. That was a question by Dr. Rizwan. I think that's a good question. Look, I want to clarify here, and I think that's very good that you've asked that. I'm not accusing those scholars of blasphemy. And I'm not asking anybody, and do not accuse those scholars of blasphemy. You see, what's happened is people have transmitted chains of hadith. Along the way, these things have gotten into our books. We have been given an intellect and reason to recognize and filter through them and see that, okay, there's a problem here. Does it mean everybody who accepted this in the past is also blasphemous? No, because in the past, maybe in their day and age, they thought these actions were okay. We today definitely do not recognize these actions as okay. Maybe some people, you see, in the past, the world was a very unstable place. The medieval ages were not, I mean, they were constant kind of turmoil, constant civil war, constant kind of one king usurping the kind of dynasty from another, and this king and that king, and this is all it was. Kingship was nothing but just bloodshed. So, and this is a verse in the Quran that Allah says, إِنَّ الْمُلُوكَ إِذَا دَخَلُوا قَرْيَةً أَفْسَدُوهَا وَكَذَلِكَ يَفْعَلُونَ. That kings, all they do when they enter places is just bloodshed and corruption, and that's all that happens. So the scholars in the past, we have not been asked to worship them. They've done an excellent job, but we can recognize that no human being is perfect. Okay, none of these scholars, we can filter through things, just as they filtered through people prior to them and rejected. So Ibn Hajar, for example, is a great scholar, but he's rejected several people before him. So we today don't have to accept him on everything. It's not like he's not God. So in the same way, my point about blasphemy was to those people today. I was saying, look, if you listen to what I was saying from the beginning of when I said it, I said some people were writing things about me, responding in a previous status, saying that, oh, this person said that maybe some companions, like the hadith of Jabir, which I don't accept to be valid, but if it was valid, these things were simply hyperbole and hyperbolic or exaggerations out of virtue and love for the Prophet. So some people were saying, oh my God, this guy is being blasphemous. So I was saying that, well, oh, if you want to play that card, then don't you consider all these things blasphemy, which definitely would be blasphemy. I would believe them to be blasphemy. So yet you endorse and teach all of these things, but you only seem to find fault with this, which I'm saying. So this was what I was saying. What I was not saying, and what I'm not asking anybody to do, is go back and retrospectively start declaring judgments on people. So to say things like, Imam Bukhari was used to blaspheme. No, 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 no. We do not do that. We respect and love the endeavors of scholars. But look, some things may have slipped their minds. Some things they may have not seen eye to eye with us on. It doesn't mean we have to worship them. That's what I'm saying. Right, okay. Now, so coming back to this question. Oh, it's lost my train of thought there. Right, so what's your advice for bulking and come on. Behave. Right, so what is your take on Abu Bakr radiallahu anh when he took lives based on zakat? I don't believe Abu Bakr did that for zakat. The apostasy wars were to do with civil war. And what Abu Bakr was doing was he made an executive decision, a state decision. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was the caliph at the time, the ruler. And some people said that they've apostated from Islam. Other people said that they will refuse to give zakat. Zakat was the means by which the state or the Muslims, the Arabian Peninsula, would run at the time. How else was it running? They would collect the arms, they would collect what comes in, the zakat and other funds, and they would use this to further the campaign. Now, when people withdraw funding, it's almost always political and personal. It's greed, but also political. So what Abu Bakr radiallahu anh said, that if they do that, then there is a greater motive at play, that they are destabilizing what we have of the Muslim entity. And thereby they are trying to, because at the same time they were trying to become separatists, they would trigger an internal civil war. So Abu Bakr said that we're going to take steps to kind of crush this rebellion. And that, radiallahu an, was his steps that he took. So it wasn't just based on a fiqh issue. It wasn't like, hey, they don't do wudu in this particular way, let's declare war on them. That would be absurd. It was, you see, because money is always linked to politics. So when people refuse to pay taxes or refuse to pay things and they're trying to become separatists, that's a political statement. I think you are not Muslim because I don't believe your history. Okay, well, Khomeji Rahmati Saab Damat Barakatuhum. If I am Muslim, but if you don't want me to be Muslim, fine. Right, so, okay. Next question. People, let's take some rapid round questions, shall we? What else was there? There was, okay, I'd been asked this question on, did Ibn Taymiyyah believe that Jahannam was not eternal in the afterlife, damnation? That is true. That is pretty much what Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah believed. And it is in several of their books. They do have some conflicting narrations. And I think the Salafis bend over backwards to try to dissociate Ibn Taymiyyah from this. Although they kind of leave Ibn Qayyim, because I think it's difficult to kind of not rescue him from that opinion. So they just leave him. And they try to kind of extract Ibn Taymiyyah from it. But the truth is, it was Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim and other people from the Salaf that they believed that eternal damnation, whatever that means, Jahannam, is not, hell is not an eternal concept. It was, so that's, but these things obviously bother a lot of people today. The truth is, look, we are not here to be kind of understanding the afterlife. We have to live our life in this world. Okay. We have to kind of live in this world, focus on this world, focus on our own life. What is the afterlife like? What does it mean? We will never truly understand. And I don't think we were ever meant to understand. And that's what the Prophet said. He said that nobody can understand these things. And yet people go and they try. And here's the irony. Look, check this out. I said this to some people, and some people got kind of freaked out. I said, look, you know, you see these programs like Vikings and things like this, and they believe in Valhalla and this kind of like great hall and this kind of feasting and these kind of valleys. They believe in these valleys and stuff like this. But what's interesting is in early Islam, in a different way, but this is what Jannah was like to many of the Muslims. It was, Jannah actually means in Arabic a garden. So it means garden. Yes. So when they pictured Jannah, they pictured a garden and feasting. And this word heaven, which is linked with sky, in Arabic, Jannah was never linked with sky. It was never kind of like the heaven. So people say there's 7 earths and 7 heavens. No, that's sab'a samawat that comes in the Quran. 7 skies that is mentioned. And that's just to do with, obviously 7 is used as excessive. But skies, sama, is not Jannah in the Quran. So Jannah is paradise, or this kind of afterlife understanding. Sama is the sky. But through Western kind of Roman colonization and then eventually Christianization of these concepts, they took it to mean like the heaven, the sky, el cielo, the kind of heaven, the sky that you have. And then Muslims also started to adopt that. And I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying it's interesting that, you see, because the truth is, nobody knows what the afterlife is like. So whether you picture gardens like how early Islam did, which was probably in some ways very similar to how you know, some other cultures did, like the Viking culture and stuff like that, or whether you picture clouds and in the sky like today Muslims do and Christians do and the Romans used to and stuff like this, then the truth is none of these things are accurate, because we can never truly understand, as the Prophet said, what Jannah is. He said no human being can ever conceptualize it. But what's interesting is today our belief of heaven, our picturization of heaven, is not what the Quran depicted or what the early Islam used to depict. So I'm just trying to draw an interesting point here. I'm not trying to say anybody's wrong, because I don't think anybody, as the Prophet said, can picture heaven. So the point is, right, what's your... Alright, Elias, you're going to get blocked if you keep on trolling. Who is more afdal, Abu Bakr Siddiq or Hazrat Ali? You see, well, look, as a Sunni scholar, I go with the general understanding that I personally do prefer Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu an to the other companions, as most Sunni Islam does. It doesn't mean Sayyidina Ali radiallahu an was a great person, was obviously related to the Prophet, but that's generally how people consider these things. But I don't, once again, I think these things are kind of petty in trying to stir up, you know, who was better, you know, oh, are you going to join the Shia, are you going to join this? I mean, what? Come on, grow up. The thing is, look, they were all amazing people, but you don't need to pit people against each other. That's the... Is philosophy and theology relevant today? I think our entire theology needs to be re-examined today. Not entire, but huge amounts of. I personally, my belief is how the Quran and the Prophet taught it. It's very simple. Like, my belief is just very simple. As the Prophet said, you believe in Allah, believe in His messengers, you believe that this world is not all there is, that there is more. You believe that Allah ultimately is in control. And that's it. That's my beliefs. That's what the Prophet taught me. That's what the Quran teaches. That's what I'm going with. these are the books of creed and theology, and you got to believe in 165 points, and this person's added 5 more points here, and if you disbelieve in one of these points, you've slipped and left Islam, and oh, but we're going to bring you back in by, you know, by the grace of the holy the whole holy clergy are going to save you, and then these people are going to chuck you out, and those people are going to I mean, it's interesting reading the stuff. I'm all for reading, studying. I'll even, you know, I don't diss as a science. I think it had a lot of sincerity in it. I definitely believe that. But I also believe it's naive to assume that it didn't have institutionalization in it. That it wasn't also about power. It was also about power. It's always about power. People underestimate the human will for power. And I'm just being honest, you know, I'm just saying what the group's thinking. That's like a private hashtag we used to have in one of our WhatsApp groups. So, are you a follower of Khadim Hussein Rizvi? Hell no. Hell no. Never am I a follower of Khadim Hussein Rizvi. Absolutely not. These people are the least of people we need today leading. It's amazing, isn't it? Leading. I mean, religion has just been reduced to a bunch of people shouting, yelling, the ability to rally a mob to create trouble, and amazing. Right, somebody's asking about sadl or qabd. I've done a detailed explanation. It's on YouTube. Just search it, sadl. I've explained that before, so I mean, I won't be able to do justice right now. So, but both are permissible, as Ibn Abdul Bar said. Whether you sadl is to let your hands kind of hang, or qabd to kind of fold them, however they come together. Who is Allah from your perspective? God. God. That is Allah. Allah is just the Arabic for the word God. Hey, here's something interesting. I read, what is the difference between Sunni and Shia? It's too deep. I've answered that before. It's political. It's a political, it's like a cocktail of, which began with politics, and then they threw theology in there. And then they threw a hell of a lot of hatred, and they stirred it up. That's what it is. But my point is, look, just stay away from abuse. Try to stay away from sectarianism as much as possible. Right now, can we read behind the Imam in Saudi? Of course we can. Of course we can. And of course you should. I mean, look, if somebody's a Salafi or you know, whatever, look, at the end of the day, look, I disagree with Salafis. What the hell, I might even mock them. Although that's difficult to believe. But I mean, some may believe that I might ridicule them. I mean, not me. But nevertheless, they are Puritanists. Damn. See, I got like Tourette's. I can't withhold it. It's like I'm trying to praise them and say, look, they're really good, and they, you know, they are, and I'm like, they're Puritanists. Okay, control, yaar, control. Okay, look. The thing is, whatever, no matter how we disagree with Salafis or anybody, as far as Islam is concerned, ultimately, as Islam is concerned, we are all one from that perspective. We disagree on our interpretations, and hell do we disagree. I think they've actually destroyed several, defaced is a better word, several aspects of Islam through their rigid Puritanist interpretations. But that said, they are still Muslims, of course. Brothers, sisters, however you want to use the term, I would pray behind them. By all means, I would pray behind them. Of course, I would pray behind them. I wouldn't even think twice. In fact, I'm still old school. People like Sudais and Shuraim, these are the kind of reciters that I still only know. I don't know all these other people. So I think this kind of stuff of, I don't think we should, our things should be reason-based. And even if we're going to sometimes ridicule a point or something, but it shouldn't be driven by hate. It should be driven always by reason, not emotion. That's my point. Right, so, oh, listen, I was going to... Speaking of Salafis, so I came across this video clip on seeking knowledge. So there were these two guys, right? Right, so I don't know the name of the other person. One of them was Dawah Man, but I don't know the other person who he was. But they're giving this video on seeking knowledge, which I think is awesome. By the way, I think everybody should seek Islamic knowledge. And I want to say here, somebody asked me this, that look, do you believe it's an obligation? I do believe it's an obligation to learn Islamic knowledge and to learn the Arabic language to the best of your capacity. But this obligation that I believe isn't one in the sense that you're sinful for not doing it. I don't believe that, oh, you're going to get punished, kind of like this kind of thing, but I believe it's a must. It's like, it's a must do in life. Like, you know, you have to kind of really, if you're serious about it, then you must learn it. That's how I kind of believe. Look at that. Muhammad Imran just says, joker. Hey, Imran, Muhammad Imran, oh, why so serious? Blocked. Anyway, coming back to, so these things I'm very passionate about. Do we have to follow one of the imams? You don't have to, but it's common sense to do so. And which imam you can choose, but obviously I would say the school of Medina, the Don. I would say, I mean, the Don imam, the Don. Imam Malik, people, Imam Malik. By the way, on SoundCloud, you can check some of my, not interviews, some of my courses are up on there, on YouTube, The Way of Medina, my Salah video. Check these things out and you can start learning the school of Medina, Maliki fiqh. Right, so coming back to this thing. So there were these two guys and they were giving this thing about learning knowledge. And I think that's awesome. You should encourage people, regardless of what sect or background they're from. You should always encourage people to learn knowledge. And I admire that. And I think that's a noble intention that they had. However, in this story, one of the... So Dawah Man begins by saying, I just saw this small clip. It was on social media, on Facebook or something. So Dawah Man says, do you know the scholars? The scholars used to travel so far. They used to struggle so much that one of the scholars said, I struggled so much I began to urinate blood. Bro, that's not how the struggle works. Okay. It doesn't mean like you start struggling with your bowels and you start like I'm gonna screw up my kidneys. This is you got it wrong, bruh. It doesn't mean you kind of like you kind of get a UTI, like a kind of urine infection, and say like I've struggled for the sake of Allah. That's not those kind of infections people are getting for other kind of reasons, okay? That struggle is a different struggle. It isn't this one. So, okay, put that aside. Then the other person obviously hearing him says, I'll see you and I'll raise you. This kind of reminds me of that story I think I've told you before, where these two great truth tellers, and by truth tellers I mean kind of ex-representatives of BS, right? So these truth tellers got into a conversation with each other. So one of them, he says, bro, what do you know? Like, he says, you know, my friend, that man is big up him. He once said to me, bro, he said, you see this? This is a bag of money. He said, he gave me a bag of money. He said, bro, take what you need from me. Take what you need from me and just go. He goes, that's a friend. That's a friend. So the other truth teller, he said, you think that's something? He said, my friend, he goes, that guy, he gave me this bag full of money, bro. He said, bro, take what you need and just throw the rest away. This was allegedly a true story told to me by courtesy of my friend Saj, if he's on here, right? Since childhood, my friend since childhood, since we were 5 years old, people, right? So now coming back to to this point, so now that Dawa man had told that story, the other guy said, right, I'm gonna see you and I'm gonna raise you. So he said, brothers, you know, the ulama, the scholars have said one cannot truly seek knowledge until 5 things. Until 5 things. No, I'm going to try to remember them 5. No. So he said, until he doesn't travel. Okay, fine, interesting. Until he doesn't travel. He said, until he doesn't... He goes, until he doesn't travel, until he doesn't become ill, until he doesn't, he said, with the condition he has no wife. So this guy has no wife, no kids, no family, with the condition that this person has no friends. And with the condition all his family die. So to learn knowledge, family have to be dead. You have to have no friends. You have to have no wife. You have to have no life. You have to have poor health. I thought, what the hell? I thought, what have you been smoking? And where can we get hold of it from? People, seriously. I couldn't stop laughing, honestly. Oh my God. I had to share that amongst a group of friends. Guys, with that, let's wrap it up. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, like my Facebook page. You know, when I see these people, like these kind of people that I just spoke of, and they have like 100,000 likes, 200,000 likes, and then I look at my Facebook page, and yaar, the ego is hurt, yaar. I think, look, seriously, how did these people get that many likes and they don't even speak sense? And here's me vomiting sense for so long, and people are not even, they don't even like yaar. So god damn it, like my page. Right, and you can like and follow both pages. I've got 2, same name, Mufti Abu Layth. And if you've got any questions, you can send them to me. I do try to respond to questions. Somebody's commenting, Shoki. Oh my God, that was the person's name, the kind of truth teller, Shoki. That was his name, Shoki. Oh yes. I'm going to get his full name from my friend. Right, so now, so like my pages. If you're on Snapchat, you can add me. It's Malm, MALM 2014, Malm 2014. And if you're on Instagram, you can add me, Mufti Abu Layth, same thing. Other than that, people, I think send me your questions, stay in touch. I do try to respond. I think Facebook marketing, I know. We've got to, these people, what can I say? See, maybe this is a sign that I'm upon truth. Not. So, look, the left-hand brigade, it seems to have been working. Genius. Tech speak for retard. Right, people, with that, the words that Subhanallah wa ta'ala amma yasifun, that Allah is above and transcendent of that which they ascribe to Him. Wa afdalu salati wa salam, and the best of salutations and blessings upon al-qa'il al-mamnoon, upon the blessed messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said, al-madinatu khayrul lahum in kanu law kanu ya'lamun, that indeed Medina is better for them if but only they knew. Urdu poetry. Well, how about the words of Mir Taqi Mir, the legend, the Don of Urdu, who says, Ab to jate hain but kade se mir, that let us go now from this place of devotion and worship, which, by the way, he would often mean is where the woman who he's speaking of would live. So they used to call them, they used to refer to them as goddesses in Urdu, but. So, ab to jate hain but kade se mir, phir milenge gar khuda laya. We shall meet again if God leads us here. So with that, people, I'll leave you to it. Take very good care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.